So, welcome everyone. Nice to see familiar faces. My name is Samson. Welcome to the webinar. This is a very exciting topic. This is a very exciting trend that we're seeing, and we're going to go through with our friend Ashak Avoyan. Talk about how AI is reshaping businesses, AI agent orchestration, and a lot of stuff in that domain. This is one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting places when it comes to technology these days, as many of you know. So we're going to be talking about that. The presentation of what we're going to be going through is going to be interactive. So obviously myself and Ashak will be discussing a bunch of questions that we have, but we also look forward to questions from all of you. The presentation is going to be in English this time. Usually we do it in Armenian or English. This time we're going to be holding it in English, just because we have people from a bunch of places around the world and joining as well, given how interesting this topic is. So as you see there, we have the headline is from the front lines of innovation. I cannot say enough about Prodmap, about Ashak, and about the team that has put the company in place. They're basically at the edge of what is happening today. You might have heard, and you have heard all of these things with Anthropic, with Claude bots and everything. These are the people that are actually working in that space and know this firsthand. So I'm sure you have questions, so feel free to ask. Ashak, I would say. So we'll look forward to that discussion. We're going to be talking about a couple of things on the agenda: emerging AI, what is happening, how AI is reshaping workflows, and of course how Prodmap is, what they're doing, the more details about that. And also for those that are interested, this is as we always mention, this is a unique opportunity to participate. So we're going to be, I'll mention a couple of things about that at the end. So if you want to join this AI transformation, this is probably one of the best, if not the best opportunities we have available for us, given the stature and given the type of a company we are privileged to work with. So having said that, let's go forward with the presentation here. Agenda for today, as mentioned, AI trends and outlook. Be mentioning a couple of things on AI ecosystem, how these things are structured for those that are not as well versed in this. We're going to be talking about AI agent orchestration. What is this? How is these things changing the businesses today already? The risks and difficulties with implementing this, of course, and also, this question comes up. Okay, so what's going to happen to software engineering? Is this all going to be written by, AI agents and all of that? So we're going to be discussing that too. So this is the agenda that we have in front of us. A couple of things about ourselves for those that we haven't had the privilege of getting in touch with. Ashak Avoyan, co-founder and CEO of Prodmap. So he leads the development of Prodmap's AI-driven workflow and orchestration systems, working with a lot of a multitude of Fortune 500 companies. Background in big data analytics, so also from Pixar previously. So a senior position there. He's gonna be mentioning a bit about what they have achieved with Prodmap, and also how helpful this team has been to Pixar as well in scaling the revenues there. So that background is also very important. Myself, CEO of eqwefy, as some of you may know, CFA. I've been in finance for almost 20 years now. Last 7-8 years in venture finance and startup investments. I'm also an invited professor in a couple of places, and also had the opportunity to write a book at some point as well, 10 years or so ago. So that's about us. Let's move forward. So AI domain overview, just in short, AI has become an industry. So if we try to understand how this industry looks like, we can separate it into various layers or segments. One of it is, of course, the foundation layer. So infrastructure layer, also as are commonly known. These are companies like OpenAI. These are companies like Anthropic, DeepSeek, Grok, and these things. Then we have the application layer. So, companies like Prodmap, I would say, and Ashok can elaborate on that, operate in this space. We had a company, Case Lens, as well, operating in this kind of a layer. Then middleware enablers, ML operations, orchestration. We have several startups, both in this layer as well as the data and the labeling layer. Like I would say Super Annotate is one of our media companies that's very, very, like startups that's very, very successful. And then a bit of hardware and infrastructure, that's kind of your NVIDIAs and all of these data centers. So just to have an idea how these layers and how these segments, how we can segment the AI industry, well, this is one way to look at it. So I'm not going to go through the details here because, might be a bit superfluous. So let's move forward to our first question. So first of all, and I'll ask, we're going to have a bit of a discussion here. So first of all, so how do we define AI agent orchestration? So what is it? And I'll hand the mic over to Ashok. Ashok, can you tell us a bit what this is, how this works? A couple of words on that.
Sure. First of all, very nice to meet you all. Thank you for the introduction, Samson Can, and I'm excited to be here and tell you a little bit about myself, about us, and about the industry in general. Hopefully you find it useful, and please, if there are any questions, interrupt me at any time. And I would really like it to be more of a Q&A and more of a discussion versus a monologue. So please participate as much as possible. In terms of agent orchestration, I think like if you kind of look back last few years, we went from Copilot, where you were just, hey, I want to do something, give me an answer, or like the ChatGPT experience, to having more autonomous agents where you were, okay, I have this task, you have all of those tools, go figure out what tools do you need and accomplish this task for me. And that could be coding, that could be booking a flight, that could be managing your backlog, and then anything in between. So now the more emerging trend is, okay, instead of having one agent, what if you have 100 agents? What if you have 1,000 agents? And those agents need to work together. So an emerging trend that we're seeing is AI swarms. And the question on everybody's mind is, okay, like how do we make them efficient? How do we make them accomplish better results together versus just wasting contract window and just wasting your tokens? So I think high level, this is what's happening. And I think almost every company I know is trying to invest in this area and trying to find benefit in this area.
Yeah. So how do you think there's a common discussion about, and maybe we'll touch upon in the next couple of questions too, so but maybe in short this time. So there's a lot of discussion that the companies are moving from, having a software budget. So the tech companies are competing for a company's software budget. So you have a bunch of SaaS tools, you have a bunch of, general IT spend that you have. So these days, companies are not competing for that. So AI companies specifically, they're not competing for those budgets, which might be, 5% of a company's total cost base, to competing for, the talent budget. So, the labor budget, so to say. So making the labor more productive, but also a much bigger pot of money, so to say, that the AI companies are going after. Would you agree with that kind of statement?
Yeah, and I actually have evidence of that. It's not, I can't generalize it, but let's say if we take Comcast, they spent 11% of their IT budget on software tools. So like, as you said, like SaaS. So it's like their infrastructure, their IDEs, their, like seat-based stuff, and everything in between. And about 75% of the budget is basically like salaries. So that they pay to their engineers. And they don't have the top talent. If they hire top talent, that their budget would probably be even much higher than that. So I think they're now spent about $7 billion on their yearly salaries if they had like top talent, I think that would be closer to like 14. They basically like basically like the spending on SaaS is much smaller than on their talent. And what I know from the CTO directly, who controls most of that budget, is that he's extremely willing to start allocating budget from this area to that area, meaning like agents, AI, and anything that can help their productivity. It's just right now we are kind of in transitionary period where we go from the hype to what actually works. So now they're getting more and more comfortable of allocating the budget from one area to another.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's go to the next question that we had in mind. So from your experience when working, Comcast is one company you're working with. So from your experience, how is AI, agent orchestration, transforming businesses already today? And what do you see happening down the line? So what are the trends down the line, so to say?
Right. What I'm seeing is that for smaller companies that are, let's say, maybe like 10, 15, 20 people, the change is fundamental. Like the companies that are on that scale maybe move like 100 times faster than they would in pre-AI era, because they are basically like working on much smaller code base. They don't have a lot of context. They don't have a lot of like old legacy code. So they are able to innovate and deploy those agents and move much faster than they used to. But what's happening in enterprises, which is, let's say, 1,000 or maybe like 5,000 people or more, and they have a lot of legacy code, every decision they make and every code change they make has a lot of steps that they need to consider. Those companies are actually struggling, and they are looking for ways to innovate. They are looking ways to they're looking at all of those hype trends on X and Twitter and saying like, yeah, I want to apply this on my stack as well. But when they're actually trying to do that, they're seeing a lot of friction, because the fundamental state of agent is not allowing them to do that today. So the trend that I'm seeing is more and more of those companies trying to invest in this area and trying to reap the benefits that maybe like the smaller startups are seeing.
Sounds good. And the difficulties are because they already have legacy code bases and huge amount of data in various places.
Exactly. It's so big that even like the best agents that's from Anthropic or maybe like OpenAI are struggling to cope with that scale and are struggling to connect those together.
Yeah. And this, as mentioned, I mean, and you mentioned this as well. So this is not going. So in a couple of years, we will see, swarms of agents, as you mentioned, or like these multiple workflows agent-led that have to be coordinated and orchestrated, and then they have to be basically be trained on that specific those databases or the data that's available, and it seems like a lot of effort to do, right?
Yes, exactly. So what I think our thesis is, in a few years we are going to go to a work environment where you're going to have a few developers who are going to, let's say, coordinate a swarm of thousands or maybe 1 million of agents. And the only thing that's going to limit you is your token budget. If you have money to spend, that's where you're going to spend on, and that's where you're going to get the most benefits. You're going to move faster than your competition. You're going to ship more features. You're going to get more users. You're going to serve them better. You're going to analyze their feedback better. It's kind of like a loop of benefits, each making the other one more powerful, like a compounding loop. So the only thing that's going to limit you is how much money you have and how good your infrastructure is. Because even if you have a lot of money like Comcast, but your infrastructure is horrible and your data and your context and what you're building is not accessible to your agents, they're still going to struggle. You're going to have garbage in, garbage out. So that's the direction that they're going to take.
Can we say that the businesses that will be able to implement this infrastructure more quickly, they will have the competitive edge versus other companies, so to say? So,
without doubt.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. If anyone has questions, feel free to raise your hands. Otherwise, we'll and move forward. So, and then the risks and difficulties with companies implementing AI agents. So let's say if you really want to do and implement these workflows with AI agents, obviously this is not an easy task to do. You have to have specifically very capable engineers to be able to do this. Is this correct? And do many of these companies have the supply of that talent to be able to put this in place?
Right, that's a great question. And I'll again default to our customers for concrete examples. So let's pick Comcast. They have amazing DevOps engineers. They have a guy who has written a book on Kubernetes. He is like a really known face in the industry, but they do not have any AI talent who can drive innovation on scale of Comcast, meaning that they can kind of tackle fundamental changes that would need to power all of those agents. So what ends up happening is like you having an access to an F1 car, like Formula One car, but putting a bus driver to win a race and saying, hey, you are also a driver, you are a driver, this is a car, bus is a car, go figure it out. It's not that easy, and the common patterns that existed before do not apply to AI. Like you have almost to kind of rewire your brain. That's one thing. Another thing is it's not that simple to implement those swarms in highly regulated industries, or like in industries where like a cost of mistake is very, very high. So for example, let's say if you pick, let's say SAP and you pick or Charter Communications, you cannot just go to an AI agent and say, hey, like remove this button. That's easy. Like it will remove it like in a second. But maybe there is a very good legal reason why that button exists. And it was put there because of some regulation. So you just tell agent, hey, go remove that button. And then you are hit with $100 million lawsuit from FCC because you did something that you aren't supposed to be. So enterprises like on that scale are dealing with multiple challenges to implement this. And they are really struggling of like how they navigate the risk and the benefits of AI. So it's kind of, they are in a very tricky place.
Yeah. So there is a certain pain point for companies to do this, as I understand it. So everyone wants to move quickly just because of competitive advantage, but then the resources and the talent and the capabilities are severely limited. Summarize it that way. Sounds good. Let's do the other question. So this comes up a lot of times as well, in the stuff I read and listen to, and one position is AI is going to take over the world, and AI agents are going to take over the world, and then we don't need any software engineers anymore, and then that's it. There's a lot of hype around this as well. The other stuff you read that's more sensible, it seems, is that, without these people, you cannot put the AI agents in place in the first place. But anyhow, I'm not as deep in tech as you are, so I think your point of view here should be much more valuable as well. So how do you kind of interpret this question? How do you see it? How do you see the developments in the future?
Right. And so isn't this like $1 million question, right? Probably like even $1 billion question. What I see, and I've seen this like over evolution of Prodmap, is the roles are consolidating. So if, let's say 3 or 5 years ago, we used to have like clearly defined role, like, okay, you are a product manager, you are a QA, you are a developer, you are a backend developer, I don't know, you are a designer, and there was like an inherent, well, so what was the right word, but like there was like an unwritten rule, like everybody stays in their lane and you not like kind of touch my area. I'll do my stuff and I'll give it to you and then you'll continue. What we are seeing is with AI, the lines have blurred so much that everybody is almost, I like to call them a builder. So basically, like if you know how to use those tools and you know how to get your hands dirty, you alone can wear many hats and you can tackle many roles. And we are seeing this expectation increasingly coming up in the companies. Nobody wants just a designer. Everybody wants somebody who can make prototypes, who can make like, even like on a bit like simple place, but like, okay, somebody who can, make a prototype, put on like user testing, get some feedback, show to the developers, and then help them kind of develop it. Or from like a developer perspective, the expectation is, okay, like you wrote the code, like you had an agent who wrote the code, now run another agent that will do the QA test. So it's very hard to say where we'll end up, but I think it's going to be a lot more consolidated positions. The positions will be like almost like a level up. So everybody will be a manager, but it will be a manager of agents. So you have like thousands of agents now. Your job is to make sure that they come up with a good output. I think there'll be more work. I don't think there's going to be like less work for us, but I think the unit of work in a given company will decrease. So you'll have, let's say you had, I don't know, 1,000 developers. Now you'll have maybe like 300 developers, but the number of those companies will increase. So instead of having like 10 companies, you'll have 30 companies. So I think it's a weird place in history. I don't know where we'll end up, but this is the trend that I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think, that makes, that the point you're making here on that, the number of companies, if companies are going to be allocating more of their total budgets to AI agents and tech in general, well, you'll have to have more companies with more tech people to be able to manage all of these workflows, right? So in that case, the companies in general are going to be far more tech-oriented than previously.
Yes.
So there are a lot of talent that will have to be, that's not tech. Maybe the labor savings are going to be there, and these people will be doing something else, or maybe being trained themselves to manage some of these workflows at least. But moving from, engineers that are 10x to maybe 100x, and maybe lower number of these people, but some of these people will be moving to other companies that were not previously tech-oriented. Maybe that's the kind of the trend for the, for the long run. And if you look at the numbers of, hiring, I looked at some research recently, the hiring, the opening position for software engineers is actually increasing as opposed to other places where it's basically stagnant. That's one place at least, but in any case.
I would say almost, sorry, just to, I think it's almost in all industries. I've seen like some companies who went overboard, like, okay, we're going to fire every customer support agent and AI is going to handle everything. And then in half a year, we're like, oh no, we made a mistake. Now we need to, not everybody, but we need to bring like a significant portion back to make sure that like whenever humans wants to speak with humans, they are able to.
Yeah. And I think one key thing that we've discussed this with other people, in our community. One key thing I think is anyone hiring any person these days, whether it's like marketing, whether it's tech, whether it's like any position almost. If you know AI tools, you're going to be very, very competitive. If you don't know them, basically, the bar to enter labor force will be slightly higher, to put it mildly, and you have to know the AI tools just because you're far more productive that way.
I would say much higher. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Cool. Let's move to, I think this is one last question, and then we'll do the Q&A as well. So where will the most value be generating during this AI transformation? So, and I'm thinking more of the AI supplier point of view, right? So we went through the foundation layer, the application layer, the ML, all of those things, and also the chip providers, of course, like NVIDIA. Honestly, NVIDIA is like soon $5 trillion company, but in any case, so where do you see the value being accrued? And there's a lot of discussion. Well, can all of the foundation layers, maybe companies like Anthropic do a bunch of stuff themselves. So there are four structures there that I've seen a fairly good analysis on. So where does the value accrue? So one way to think about it, well, the companies will do it themselves. Can the companies run all of these AI agents, set up the workflows? So that's one way to think about it. So that's one solution. And the value will be primarily going there. So companies doing it themselves. The other thing is like all consultants and Accenture and these type of companies helping companies set up these workflows, AI agent workflows. The third way to think about this would be that, Anthropic and companies like that making inroads and kind of providing the tools themselves. And the fourth one is basically application layer. So to say, companies like Prodmap, companies similar working as like the intermediate layer between the business and the foundation layer. So say and providing value there. Do you think, and I think, we'll open this up for questions as well. My position from what I hear is, and I would like to get your feedback on this, from your experience and insights working. Can a company like Anthropic do this generic for most companies or many companies, provide tools for them to do these agents? For any given company.
Yeah, I think that the problem is that, like, short answer is yes, probably. But the longer answer is those companies do not want to build their stuff mostly because it's not in their, and I'll rephrase it. Let's say you have 100 different cases, right, that a company can apply their agents, and 10 of them are critical to their business because they relate to their revenue, they relate to their users, and everything. I think those cases the company will want to build themselves. The other 90% of the cases is like the same thing with like traditional SaaS software. Right? They are looking to buy because that's faster, it's less maintenance, it's easier to do. It's basically you're paying a little bit more money for somebody else to come and take away that problem. I think that's what's going to happen. I think for the core group that's going to get the most value is going to be the application layer because models are getting commoditized. Yes, Anthropic is right now ahead, but there are like very good Chinese open source models that are slightly worse, but 100 times cheaper. So if you are operating on a scale of Compass, right now they are deploying those Chinese models on their in-house infrastructure. So they are not chasing the perfection, they are chasing like the best bet for their money. And as the model, like you can look at every generation model gets cheaper. It's almost like a race to the zero. Basically, at the end, like the token cost is going to equate to cost of electricity. So that's the direction like generic models are going, and that's why even like companies are Anthropic are providing to this like basically like value layer and application layer. And the thing is like they don't have a lot of moat there. Like they aren't doing anything that like companies like us cannot do. And the pie is so big that there is like so many opportunities in going after this area. It's like $1 trillion budget. So even if like Anthropic goes into this area or like any area or vertical space, there is so many things that like companies like us and other vertical players can take, and there's like such a big long tail of use cases that enterprises are looking for somebody just to come in and take care of. I don't know, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think we did actually, this was very interesting for ourselves as well. And, we had a question from one of our investors asking in this direction. We did an analysis and kind of looked through this as well. And we put a presentation on the platform inside, so people that would like to kind of see where things going or compare and contrast, so to say, what a company like in the foundational layer like Anthropic is doing versus a company like Prodmap. There's a fairly interesting kind of review on that on the platform, and these are two separate places. Customization. There's customization. There is verticals, and there's a bunch of stuff that's different. So in any case, thanks a lot. Let's do a couple of questions, and then we'll kind of go through the Prodmap presentation as well. Okay, so any questions from our audience? Okay, nothing as of yet. Yes, feel free to pose that, and then let's switch to our presentation of Prodmap. I think this should be it.
Would you like me to share the deck so I can?
It should be available now. Do you see it?
Yes.
Okay, it should be there now. Okay, so very good. So Prodmap, context orchestration for enterprise AI agents. I'll try to shift the slides in line with your discussion, and but you kind of let me know if we're moving too quickly or too slowly. Yeah. So this is slide 1, and this is slide 2. The overview. Yeah. Why don't you tell us a bit about the traction, the pipeline, and the customers that you have right now?
Right. So I think like we touched on a few of those topics during our questions, and which was great because they kind of covered most of our thesis. But on the high level, we are a platform for where AI agents get their context. We work mostly with larger enterprises like Comcast, SAP, Charter Communications. Charter and SAP are currently in paid pilots. Comcast is paying customers and expanding very rapidly. I was recently in their headquarters, securing another expansion, and I spent probably last year working from their office, just meeting as many teams as possible and living their pains. We have a lot of very large qualified pipeline of companies from our network, from referrals, from inbound channels who are interested in trying us out or implementing us on their stack. And that's why we are basically presenting this to you to show where we are and where we're going. And we'd love to
when we listed Prodmap, by the way, the ARR was 250, so it's now close to 350. So it's always nice to see, you know, the revenue growth and traction here. Yeah, so let me switch to the next slide here. And by the way, one question, you mentioned the word context. Would you kind of elaborate what context is for, you know?
Yeah, I think if you go to the second slide, I think I'll use this to explain that. So context is your tribal knowledge, let's call it like that. Everything that happens in your company right now is either stored in a document, it's stored in a tool like Salesforce, Slack, Jira, maybe your code, or it's stored in somebody's mind. So whenever there is a need for agents or any AI to do something, it needs to have some or all of that information to produce an accurate result. Otherwise, it just hallucinates. So right now, the main problems why those agents are failing in enterprise complex use cases is that information is scattered in many places. So if you say, I'll give you a simple case, you are trying to remove a button. The first question is like, why is this button even here? So that information could be in Jira, could be in Confluence, could be in Google Doc, could be in Salesforce, could be in their legal documents, and maybe 7 other places. So to get an accurate result, your agent needs to be able to go to all of those tools, combine that information, come back and say, okay, this button is here because something. And the second problem is those sources are often conflicting. So let's say you want to release a feature and you're asking, okay, what's our release date? In Jira, it could be August 1st. In like their Excel sheet that tracks their roadmap is September 1st. In their marketing docs is October 1st. In another place, it's not even going to be released because it wasn't even planned. So whenever agent is trying to do something and it's trying to feel like, what's my ground truth? What am I operating at? You're basically like at the mercy of which source will it pick the first and which source will, okay, this one got it in first, then this will get used. And the last point is that now most of the cases that you want agents to do require multiple agents working together, as we discussed, like those swarms of agents. And there is no proper handoff mechanism, so like one agent calling another and passing all of this context. Because you might have different providers, you might have like different protocols, you might have different setups, and there is nobody to kind of ensure that, okay, like this agent accurately gave information to the next one, so then that one can execute. So all of these 3 cases we call context. And right now it's missing in most of the enterprise lifecycle.
Yeah, seems like a huge amount of things to do for any given company to put this together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where we come in. We are, as I said, a context and orchestration level for enterprise software development. And what we do is we connect to your existing data stack. We build our internal knowledge graph. We make it in a way that's easily accessible for AI agents. And we expose it to your software development stack, which could be your cloud code, which could be your cursor, which could be your in-house agents, which could be your other tools. So anything that requires information for their agents to execute has us as a source of truth for their agents. And by doing that, you are no longer at the mercy of any given agents to try to figure out the right information. Instead of that, you make sure that they have the right information at the right time and are ready to deliver the highest quality of output.
Yeah.
On a high level, this is how we work. This is just an illustrative chart. But what we do is once we ingest all of your information, we build it in a graph, we enrich it, and then that graph becomes accessible to your agents in real time through an MCP connector. By the way, like if there is any like technical things that you would like me to dive deeper into, please let me know. But on high level, that's how it works. My background is data engineering. I've spent the last 10 years connecting data to over 150 million active users on Pixar, and I kind of transferred that knowledge to Prodmap. And what we've done is, okay, you have terabytes of data of your enterprise life. What we do is we connect it together and we make sure that A is connected to B, B is connected to C, and there is a causation map of like, if you change this is happen. If you remove this button, this is going to be the problem. If you want to do like this needs to be changed as well.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate our success, we are a team of, more as a graph, but yes, similar to a chain. This is where we are at right now. We have been breaking into Fortune 100 companies since pre-seed stage, which I don't think many other companies on our scale and funding have done. We are working with some of the largest companies in the world, and we are right now only limited by our capacity to add more, and we are actively trying to tackle our backlog to increase our traction as we go. Yeah, and our largest customer is Comcast. They started with only 5K contract. Now we are 150 plus, closing on 200K. I have a team of 13 teams on our backlog that I'm gradually onboarding, and we are working with the top level C-suite at Comcast, building different workflows for them as well. We have over 2.5 million pipeline with them over the next 18 months, and I think I'm being a bit conservative here. So they have a lot more stuff that we can do for them, and they actually referred us to Charter Communications as a customer because they were so happy with how good of a partner we were for them.
So 2.5 million. I mean, that's a huge amount. That's basically almost gets you to Series A, no?
Yep. We just don't want to be on like one customer. We want to have a diversified portfolio of customers.
Yeah, this is very impressive. So, and how is so customer referrals even, right?
Yep. Okay. So they refer. So they work very closely with Charter Communications. So you just have context. Like Comcast is like Team Telecom in Armenia, and Charter Communications is like UCOM. So they are like the two some of the biggest operators in US. So the one referred us to the other.
Yeah. How limited are you with the ability to, in terms of the team, to put this in place?
Yeah. Right now, the team is 5 people and 6 people, and we're intentionally keeping the team small. We want to have like a small elite team of operators who will help us get to the next level, and we only add people where we really feel they'll help us accelerate. But right now we have quite a big of capacity gap where like I think I could have moved even faster if I had a few more people on the team.
Yeah, I mean, closing the pipeline of millions is, market opportunity, we talked about it a bit, but yeah, why don't you mention a couple of things as well?
Yeah, just so the numbers are clear, I know like everybody likes to throw in big numbers on Tom's slide and say like billions, trillions of dollars, but this is truly an opportunity that kind of touches every single development team or every single enterprise in the world. And we just want you to know the high level numbers. Right now, there are like 48 million developers worldwide, which I think is going to be soon even higher. And it'll be like, I don't know, 50, 60 million builders worldwide. But if we just pick like enterprise teams, so like 7 or 8 people, that's just by itself 3 million plus development teams. And altogether, their CapEx without any software spent is 100 billion. So 100 billion plus. And that's basically the money that companies are paying them as salary. So this is the area that we are targeting, and this is the budget that we're going after.
And this is basically as is, as opposed to if this transformation moves into, expands budget and more companies, then you'll probably have more teams and more,
Exactly. Here, I'm just targeting a subset of that. I don't want to say our team is everybody. We're very specific to whom we're going after.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm sounding too excited, but this is what I'm kind of hearing from elsewhere as well. So, go-to-market strategy, please. Yeah,
as I said, we're very specific with whom we target. We target mid to large level plus companies with at least 500 developers. We figure out that's like the sweet spot where they have all of these pains, they have like these challenges of enterprise context, and they have enough budget to integrate a tool like us. And by that I mean they have enough budget, so they are used to paying larger checks versus paying like $50, $60 and then kind of asking you to do 100 things for them. So that's where that's the companies that we target. We target decision makers on the highest level, so like VP of engineering, CTO, CIO, depending on how they kind of split responsibilities internally. And we target complex regulated industries and workflows because, as I said, we work the best when every change you make, you have like a lot of prerequisites and a lot of steps to think about before you do that change. So that's the area that we target. And right now it's mostly like founder-led outbound sales through my channels, through our connections, through our friends at Plug and Play, and through our connections, through our introductions from existing clients. And also lately, I've started to post the organic content on LinkedIn and X, and I'm seeing pretty good results there. Our pricing is going to be mostly usage-based. So the more your agent runs, I get like a subset of that budget as my revenue. And the value proposition is pretty simple. Like, let's say, I'll oversimplify. Let's say your agent run costs $1. I get 1 cent out of that, but your agents run 10% or 20% better. And that's a very clear proposition for companies and very easy for them to understand.
Sounds good. If you would need intros from any in our community, would this be CTO, CIO level and fairly large enterprises, it seems, right?
Yeah, I think like so if they have like 500 plus employees, I think that's like a sweet spot to get the introduction and get it going. Because before that, they typically do not feel the challenges yet of the larger scale operation.
Sounds good.
The competitive field is pretty active, but there are a few key differences. If you take a company, I think like the most popular ones here would be LangChain and Glean, and I mean those ones I would concentrate on. So Glean is mostly doing enterprise search. So basically, like if you are looking to find any information from HR, like how do I fire somebody, to like where do I order my cleaning supplies, and like how do I request a day off, they power all of that. And they are pretty good at doing that. But the issue is that they are very generic, and they are built to cover many more use cases. So they start to struggle when they do, you want to do complex multi-step software development lifecycle related workflows. And like we've been evaluated against them for our use cases, and we have won in benchmarks across them for those specific use cases. And there are tools like Blockchain, which are great do-it-yourself tools. So like if you take Blockchain and you spend a lot of money and effort and time, I think you can try to recreate something like us. You probably can with sufficient effort, but then you have to maintain it, and you have to make sure that it works, and you have to spend a lot of ongoing budget on that. So we kind of classify it as like do it yourself tool. So that's how we differentiate us against the existing competition.
Yeah. You have a top talent here. Why don't we talk a bit about the team too? So
right. Sure. As I said, the team is pretty small, but very powerful. To talk him a little bit about myself, like I used to lead. I'm an engineer by background. Then I moved to product management. Then I led the data and infrastructure teams. At some point, I was leading more than 150 people across multiple groups. And at Pixar, I was responsible for a good portion of the revenue growth that we did. But also on the team, I have experts in enterprise software development. Anush, who is our head of engineering, she had worked in TeamViewer Armenia, so she has like the hardcore experience of working in a very regulated, very strict enterprise software world. And we have Alam with us, who is our head of AI, and he is just a genius AI developer and engineer who has authored algorithms. He has won many medals from president, from CEO of Synopsys, and won numerous awards. And is just, I think, one of the top talents in AI in Armenia, probably in the world.
Yeah, it is indeed a top team. And I remember Aram was head of AI at Podcastle previously, right?
He was leading one of the teams. Yeah, he was responsible for their voice generation efforts.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, we talked a bit about this. So, I mean, most likely these numbers are understated, but
they are. Yeah. Again, I don't want to throw. One of the key here is like when you're making this, you are trying not to make some like earth-shattering claims. But with AI, every number is like that. So like billion is no longer impressive. And like every company is spending like crazy in here, and I want to get a good ROI. So this is the area that we're going to play.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now, you're doing the seed round, and I'm sure it's going to go great. Even this is indeed a very, very dynamic market, very promising, and we as eqwefy are obviously very privileged to be part of this. This is a top team, a top startup that we have, and this is a great opportunity to join the journey, and there's a huge upside, of course. So we haven't kicked off our fundraising yet. We are gearing it up. I actually wanted to close a few more of the teams to kind of officially kick off the round. But I also wanted to have as much of our community on board as well. And that's why I'm super excited to partner with eqwefy and have this talk and maybe get some feedback. Sounds good. No, thanks a lot. It's our privilege. Let's do any questions at this time. We have a couple of minutes left. I'm just going to share a bit on let's see here. This is, yeah. Let me share this instead. And we're gonna round this off. Okay, so for those that don't know eqwefy, we basically the mission is for all of us to be able to have a stake in these companies like Prodmap. Top companies. This is, as we always say, this is the most compelling Armenian private sector investment opportunity of it all. Why am I saying that? Because this is the most, this is where international professional investors get involved. So Prodmap will be Prodmap will be raising a seed round. I'm sure like 90% of that capital will be coming from international VCs and international funds. So our mission is to basically for all of us to be able to participate in the same successes. I just put in a couple of things here. Those that are interested in Prodmap and in general, you can sign in on the platform. Very easy. It's just a couple of clicks, and then we can have a coffee. We can do a call and present all the details. What do we offer? We, as an investor value, deal sourcing, obviously working with top teams like Prodmap is it's an effort to put to say so. Then we do the due diligence, we do the vetting. Over the last 7 years, I've seen maybe 1,000 different pitch decks. These are the top companies that we have around. Technology providing an automated, user-friendly investment platform. We do have all the legal structuring stuff, the payments, the safekeeping. All of our securities are registered with Central Depository. Reporting, we love being in touch with our startups, provide updates, provide exciting news that they have. Try to be helpful to the startups as much as possible, specifically on the business development side. So there are the question how we can be helpful here. And access. I mean, to be able to invest in Prodmap next time they will be raising, or that when they will be raising seed. Ashok, you're not going to be taking 10,000 rounds, I'm sure. You're not going to be maybe taking $25,000 tickets. This is probably going to be millions maybe. So, these are the type we make this accessible, and this is a privilege to participate. And also from the investor support, community connections, best practices. We want the investors to succeed, whether this is in startup investing or in general. So we try to be as helpful as possible. So that's it for today. If there are questions, do let us know. Otherwise, thank you for joining us, and we'll be in touch. Ashok, thanks a lot for your participation.
Thank you so much. Hopefully it was useful and helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day, everyone.